Hello.
Yeah, you have to do the hello.
I did the hello.
Thank
you. Right? Welcome back. It's Friday night again. Woohoo!
Yay!
A week that seems to be very long this week.
Is it Friday or is it the fourth Tuesday?
I'm going with Friday. I need it to be Friday. Welcome back. It's Book Chats with Mostly Books. I'm Jody.
I'm Jen.
Tonight we are discussing The Changeling by Victor LaValle. And Jen's going to tell us what it's about.
Yeah, so Apollo has like some childhood stuff. His dad left. He's having these creepy nightmares, you know, as one does. Then he meets Emma. They get married. It's a bit of a fairy tale. They have a son, and their son is very adorable. Things seem to be going well as they can. But then Emma starts showing signs of like postpartum depression, or at least that's what they think it is. We'll get into that. And ends up doing something terrible, and it throws off the whole course of their lives. So Apollo goes on this quest to try and write things and find answers, and yeah.
That was good. I was wondering how much you were going to say.
I just was trying to do like the back summary.
Back blurb.
But in different words.
It was good. It was
Thank
good.
you.
You told enough, but didn't spoil it yet.
Yeah.
So initially when you said, let's read this book, I was like, I don't know, Jen. You keep telling me this is horror and this has got supernatural elements. But when you read the back, it just seems
sound like it.
Like an all-out fiction, just family drama, which is fine. I'm just like, this doesn't feel like a Jen pick.
Which it is family drama.
It is, in a very dark horror.
Dark fairy tale kind of way.
I laughed when you said fairy tale. We'll come back to...
Well, yeah, we will.
To that. So, needless to say, initially I was very like, but it was really good. I'm so glad you chose this one.
I am too. I like being validated. But also I just heard good things about it, and like Kirsten White said she liked it at the book festival, so I was like, ooh, I like your writing, you like this one, I'll probably like this book. Right.
So you liked it.
I did. I really liked it. It was a good one to read. It was very different. Like, I wasn't really sure what I was expecting when I picked it either.
And again, you read the back and you're like, huh, and then you get going and you're like, well, it's all this.
It's just kind of like, okay, graveyard. His name's Apollo. That's enough for me.
Does it say graveyard?
Yeah. His odyssey takes him to a forgotten island, a graveyard full of secrets, a forest where immigrant legends still live, and finally back to a place he thought he had lost forever.
I just remember being like, well, he was up for a horror award, best horror novel, and British Fantasy Award, so it's got to be there somewhere. And it is. It is. And such unexpected, wonderful, horrific ways that we will really probably have to dive into. And I'm sorry, we're probably going to spoil so much of this, and this is one you really don't want to have spoiled, so hang out with us for a little bit, then go read it and come back and then tell us what you thought as well, because so many unexpected turns.
What kind of reader would like this book?
Anyone who liked Mexican Gothic, I think this would be a good pick for them. Somebody who wants something that's totally different and gripping and just will totally engulf you. I felt like that would be them. Your horror friends, maybe.
It's like suspenseful, like eerie, haunting horror, not like, I don't know what other kind of horror there is.
Yeah, like
there's horrible things in it, and it's just like, oof, ugh.
And there are supernatural elements in it. But yeah, it was just so unexpected in some spots. Anyway, who else would you recommend, I guess?
Well, it's like, because it is a fantasy novel, or it can be classed as one, but it's also like very literary in some of its like motifs and like shape of its narrative. So if you're like, oh, genre fiction isn't usually for me, maybe try this one.
It is very literary, but it's a very accessible literary book.
Yeah.
Like, it is so well written, but it's not too...
But it like...
foo-foo-y.
It keeps going. Yeah.
Writing, yeah.
It has a good pace for it. And it has short chapters, which we ended up really liking.
I know, normally short chapters annoy the heck out of me, but it totally worked. And there was a lot of different sections through the book, which again, also sometimes kind of annoys me. I'm like, why do you need so much?
It's like, you already have chapters. Why do you need bigger chapters?
But again, it totally works. Okay. So, do we want to talk characters first, or do you want to spice it up and do writing first?
Should we do writing first since we're kind of
already there? That's kind of what I was thinking too. What did you think? Aside from what we said,
I really like the writing. I did mention fairy tale, so it kind of does that, like, once upon a time there was a guy, he met a girl, like, it kind of starts that way.
It does start that way.
And
even one of the chapters is like,
once upon a, or like, what's
first comes love,
then comes marriage,
and then it gets dark.
It gets dark in the fourth one. The third one, I think, is then then comes a baby and something
probably
like that.
Yeah.
But it has like this fairy tale motif, and like it moves through things in like ways fairy tales do, where it's like kind of flat characters at first, but they're not flat. They get fleshed out, but it borrows that from fairy tales. And yeah, it worked because it like fairy tale, then it fades out a little bit. And then you're like, where are we going? And then we're like hit with another myth or a fairy tale.
I say, and then like, I liked that you said it was like a fairy tale, like love story, in the sense that it is that like, oh, I found my knight and whatever.
Yeah.
It's all pink and fluffy, but then it's also very Grimm's, like literal Grimm's fairy tale, like Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale story, where it gets dark and there are some lessons that you should learn.
It gets very dark.
Okay, anything else on your fairy tale flat character and turning into these amazing characters?
It's just like kind of like fairy tales, they get kind of flat, but this doesn't follow that. It just kind of borrows like, I don't want to say aesthetic, because it goes into like fairy tale myth and then like motifs and structures and all sorts of other stuff. But I
think saying it's like a modernized fairy tale would be an okay way, because I never felt like the characters were ever flat, even when you first meet them.
Yeah, because it's like trying to do like real characters, not just like, there's a sad king with 3 sons. It's
a realistically set fairy tale, maybe.
It's updated.
It's definitely.
We're struggling with this. It's not this hard.
No, it kind of. This is a hard one to categorize. I know everyone's like, it's gender bending. Not gender bending, genre bending.
I was like, it's gender bending?
No, genre.
Definitely would pick this book then.
I know, right? Which normally actually also annoys me when they're like, it's genre defining or defying.
It's just like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, right. But this one is hard to pin down.
It does a lot of things well.
It does everything well. I thought the characters were all great. Again, I felt like I picked this up and it, a lot of it is really mundane in the beginning. It's just married life. It's getting his backstory. It's going to work.
Yeah.
But you read it and you're so, like, I was so enamored. And like, oh, what's going to happen next? Where are you going to go next on your book thing? We'll come back to that. But so the pacing, like you said, was fantastic. He just, I don't know.
It's well written.
Really well written.
Yeah.
I can't gush enough, evidently.
And like the myth stuff I thought was really interesting too. So can I talk about that, or is that for spoilers?
Maybe let's leave that.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll talk about that later.
And I mean, every sentence was like, he just doesn't put any fluff in. Every sentence was so needed, but they're all varied, so you're getting all sorts of. It was just so good.
There's like little moments of like social critique or commentary like interlaced through it, so it's like a paragraph of something else and then like a little bit at the end, and it's just like, oh, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a discussion on very current events, even though it's, again, a bit fantastical in some ways.
Yeah, it's
it's modern Brooklyn that we're set in.
Yeah, modern for when this book was written?
In 2018-ish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was in 2018, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good job, thank you.
2017. I think this edition was 2018.
Okay, 2017. So it's still a pretty modern look of Brooklyn and life there. So yeah, I'm not sure I was headed with that otherwise, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk characters. What did you think of Apollo?
I liked Apollo. I felt bad for Apollo, like, because the thing happens and it's very sad, and he's just a good dad. He's trying so hard to be a good dad, and like he's like not perfect. No character is a perfect parent on their first try, but he tries so hard, like, matters a lot, and he's just a good dude.
He's a good dude. And the fact that he goes to the lengths he does to track Emma down was really impressive, especially considering.
Yeah. We'll get there.
I love his mantra. I'm the god Apollo, which we hear a lot, but I like it.
I do too.
I liked Emma in the beginning. And she was such a perfect match for him because
They were so
she wouldn't put up with his crap. And I don't know, they really worked together until it went south. But anyway, I love Patrice. I thought he was a great best friend, even though sometimes I was like, what you doing, dude?
Yeah, because it kind of gets to a point where, like, you know there's something bigger going on, but you don't really know which way it's going to go. Yeah. So you just get very suspicious of everyone.
I know, because you're like, something is lurking in the background, and I just don't know what yet.
And it's like, it could be, like, the character that's, like, right next to you, and...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked his mom.
Mm-hmm. What about Cal?
The guy?
Cal, on the island.
Oh. The gal. Yeah, I liked her mostly. Her intentions were really good. And I understand why they went to the extremes they went to, but she was very direct, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. She's definitely interesting. They're all interesting in this book.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Ooh, this is sort of going to come up later, but not my favorite part that I was really like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun in here. It was the book stuff.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the book stuff?
Yes. So Apollo he kind of goes around and finds like rare books at estate sales and other places, library sales, and then sells them online. But I loved it. It was so much fun. I was like not expecting that at all, and I liked going on all of his book adventures. And just that he and his wife bonded at the library. Like, that made my nerdy book heart really happy.
It was really cute. Because it's like a different... Like, there's books with bookshops in them, but this was different. A different side of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agreed. And it kind of reminded me of... I think it's John Dunning does a mystery series where he's a bookseller and he does like this as well, but it was a mysteries and it's dark in a whole different way. But I liked this one better just because I liked Apollo as a better character. So anyway, made me happy.
Yeah, it was really well done. Because then there's like one book, isn't it like a signed Harper Lee?
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to talk about that yet.
I mean, we could. We're not gonna say what happens to it.
Not yet.
But he finds like this signed Harper Lee, and it's like, oh,
first edition hardback.
Yeah, all this stuff, dust jacket still, like. How rare is that?
All the stuff that you're like, oh my gosh, this is a payday.
Yeah, and it just kind of becomes a thing because he like holds on to it for ages and doesn't sell it, and then just the $70,000 that this book is worth, you can just like follow that through the book. You can follow the money.
You totally can follow. I thought that several times. I know, and he like had good intentions again with that too. He's like, I'm gonna sell it when we need it because now we have a baby coming and we're gonna need it, but not yet. I have to find the right buyer and make sure it's authenticated and that whole process.
Yeah, the authenticator took forever.
Yeah, as they do. So yeah, that was cool. The whole Harper Lee thing. Okay.
As a side plot.
Can we ruin this for everyone?
I think so.
Okay.
So
spoilers. Turn off. Come back later. You'll
want to come back later. You'll want to read this one.
Oh my gosh, read this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We good? Hope you've left.
We're good. What do you want to talk about first?
Should we talk about Emma?
Yes. Okay. So what did you think of Emma when she started to, like, can we talk about the text? Do you want to start there?
Sure.
Okay, so Emma has just had Brian. She's obviously sleep deprived. I mean, obviously that's going to happen. And then she's randomly starts getting these text messages with pictures of Apollo and Brian. Like one specifically where Brian is in the driveway when he finds the Harper Lee book, and he's laying there, and then you can tell Apollo is not the one taking it.
Yeah.
And you could tell that he wasn't really watching Brian.
He'd like laid out a blanket, and like Brian was just kind of like vibing on his back or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
and it was just Apollo a moment.
Loaded a box. Yeah, it was fine.
But then she's like, how did I get this picture? Who sent me this picture? And then when she goes to show Apollo, it's gone. Mm-hmm. And then this keeps happening where they just keep coming and disappearing. And then she slowly starts to kind of unravel. And so initially I was kind of like, is this because someone's kind of stalking her that she's unraveling? I mean, what did you think when...
They think it's postpartum depression in the book.
Apollo thinks that.
Apollo thinks that. Like, Emma gets pills for it. Because, like, I think that's what
the doctor does prescribe. And technically her sister thinks that, too. Their midwife.
I like... Her sister is interesting. Anyway. So that's what he thinks it is. And she's like, no, you're not listening to me. Or, like, this is... I don't know how to explain this. Like, something's wrong. And I'm like, okay, it's not postpartum depression. Like, I know that. I just don't know what it is.
Right.
But I was like, is someone stalking you? Because it kind of, like, makes it out that, like, you see Emma, like, losing her mind. And you don't understand why. And you almost don't believe her. Like, Apollo's trying to figure it out. He's trying to understand. But he's like, none of this makes sense.
Right. And now he's getting to that point, too, where he's like, now I'm the only caretaker. I'm the only one who's caring for Brian at all. Because she's being really weird around Brian.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't want to go.
She's like, that's not a baby.
That's not our son.
That's not our son.
That's not our son.
Or it's not a baby.
Maybe, yeah. And she keeps, like, distancing herself. And that's why they think it's the postpartum as well. And it really upsets Apollo. Obviously, I think that was a natural reaction for him. Although he didn't always handle it well.
And he's also sleep deprived.
Yeah. But his whole take another pill, calm yourself down attitude.
Yeah.
Not a good move, bud. So then, well, do you want to just...
So Apollo comes home one day.
Okay, we're gonna...
Yeah, should I go here?
Yeah, go here. That's where I was headed to.
And the door is locked or unlocked? I don't remember. He gets in the house somehow. Or he's in there. Anyway.
I don't remember if it was locked either.
So there's, like, steam coming out of Brian's nursery. And Apollo's nightmares is there's steam coming from the shower. So he's, like, freaking out. But before he can go check, Emma, like, attacks him and, like, chains him to, like, the radiator or a pole or a pipe.
Pole to the radiator. Yeah, pipe leading into the radiator.
With a bike lock. So it's like one of those U-locks. So he can't, over his neck. So he can't move at all.
And I think chains as well. Because
is he also stabbed? Didn't he get stabbed?
He gets very, very violently stabbed in the head.
Oh, yeah, he gets brained. He gets smacked with a frying pan or something. No, a hammer. It's a hammer. And his eye is not good. Yeah, his eye's like out of socket.
Yeah, not good. It was definitely a reaction that Emma did. And she doesn't really tell us why. She just kind of like leaves.
Yeah.
And poor Apollo is trapped there.
And we are left to infer that Brian is dead. He's either been like scalded to death, I think is what it comes back as. Which
is interesting because of Apollo, which he remembers as well, the steam and all that went from his nightmares.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. And like the landlord, thank goodness, comes up and finds him and frees him.
And it's just like, dude.
So at this point, we're just all like, what is Emma doing? How could you do this to your son and husband? So violent.
And Emma disappears.
And she just like climbs out the window and is gone into the night. And then poor Apollo does not respond well to that.
No. Should we say what Apollo does?
Oh, yeah.
Emma works at the library. So Apollo gets a shotgun somehow and then goes to the library and asks her coworkers, like, where she is. He went there to, like, kill her and then kill himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her coworkers were very understanding.
Yeah, they were like, oh, like...
You're really grief-stricken.
No one gets hurt.
Nobody gets hurt.
Apollo goes to jail, and they were like, he
was under a lot of grief and stress. Yeah, and they didn't press charges. I was stunned at that, honestly. I mean, that's a special person. But so Apollo is shipped off to jail for a couple months, and then basically the main part of the story, we come back after he's coming back from prison for 2 years. Was he at Riker, too?
I think so.
I'm sure he was, too, no less. Yeah. And of course now he's like, I need to find, well, he's still just so confused and dealing with everything. And you really ache for him at this point. Like you feel all that pain. And like, then he and, Patrice start Patrice during this time has found a buyer for the Harper Lee book, if I recall. And so they kind of start doing that and meet some guy. What's his name?
I remember what his name ends up being.
Me too, but I can't remember the actual name. Anyway, so Apollo's like, no, this dude's a good dude.
William. William something, but we can just call him William.
What did you think of William when you met him?
At first I was like, is this the link that, like, is this what's going to, like, clear up the story? Because he seemed to know things, but then it's like, you know a lot.
Okay, so I thought it was super weird when he shows up, though, at the court. Well, Apollo has to go to a court-ordered, like, grief
counseling
group
or survivor counseling,
survivor group group session where they all meet and try to work it all out. And I thought it was super weird that he met him there and was like, Patrice told me to come find you here. It was weird. Did you think that was weird?
I didn't think it was as weird because I don't know.
Well, like, those things tend to be kind of like an anonymous situation, and I was like, dude, why are you invading him in his private moments when he's supposed to be trying to, like, work through his trauma? And here you are, like, hey, yeah, here you have a book, and I just wanted to check you out before I actually buy this from you.
Now that you put it that way, I'm like, now that makes, like, zero sense why he did
Yeah, and I remember finishing that being like, why is no one surprised or upset that he's here? And why is he not weirded out? And then we had that whole weird interaction with the mom. That was it. Anyway, we don't need to go into that part so much. But then we travel to William to sell the book, right?
On a boat.
We have to get there because they were like, why aren't we meeting in Brooklyn? And Paul was like, I don't know, he just wants to meet here in a neutral place, more or less. And then we're going to rent this boat because he started an app for boat rentals. And Patricia's like, this is weird, but okay, dude. I'm coming along.
Really ride or die.
Yeah.
We admire him for it.
Right? So I thought that, initially at that part, I was like, okay, maybe it's fine. And at this point, I've kind of blogged out the weirdness of that meeting. So I'm kind of like, okay. And then Patrice kind of like is like, well, he's weird, but okay, he's going to buy this book.
He's going to pay us a bunch of money, so...
And he tells us this sad sob story about his wife leaving, and this is my one chance to get her back, is if I buy her this one book she loved growing up reading.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was tugs at your heartstrings.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm like, this is kind of creepy. You should maybe just, like, leave her alone. But also, I'm like, if you're just going to send one last thing, like, maybe you're not being, like, as harassing as this sounds, but no, he's just being awful.
I know, I was, like, trying to give the guy a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
and so I kind of got lulled into it.
But, like, he tells it in a way that makes you feel very sorry for him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You can see our reactions on how that ended.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
we haven't talked about the graveyard, we haven't talked about the island, we haven't talked about the troll.
We haven't got to any of those things yet. I mean, okay, we don't have to go piece by piece. We can just dive in somewhere else. Okay, do you want to talk about the island?
I was gonna say, should we talk about the troll or the graveyard? Because those are like...
But that's at the end. Do you want to talk about getting to that point?
Oh, should we talk about the island and how it relates?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. The troll kind of comes in. I feel like the troll was the wildest part of this book.
Okay, we could just drive to the troll and come back. I mean, okay, so we go to an island, we meet a group of surviving women.
A magical island in the whatever that river is in New York. Hudson?
It's the Hudson.
I haven't been to New York.
Was it a magical island? I mean,
it was like a magical island.
It was magical in the sense that it had the veil that you couldn't find it. Is that what you're meaning? Okay, yeah. So it was kind of secluded and hidden. And
we're crossing the River Styx into the underworld.
Well, and it was also where the women came after they were being, like, leaving a domestic abuse situation and getting back up on their feet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as well as all of that, too.
Yeah. It's Apollo's trip to the underworld.
So, needless to say, we find out Emma's been there, as we're still trying to find out where Emma is, because now we know Emma's alive, finally. Which I was like, I can't believe we're really tracking Emma down after all this. But Apollo needed answers, so...
He did.
I don't think I would have done that. Right? Okay. Fast forwarding... way to the end. The troll.
They're the troll. This book is like 350 pages just to make a pun.
Yeah, because the troll online and the actual troll.
Yeah. So there's the troll online that starts like this Baby Brian memorial page, and then these two people who end up being like one person. No, it's two people.
It's two. Yeah.
And just post like really rude comments, and there's also the same troll that is sending Emma these pictures. And then...
Was it? I always thought it was William sending her.
It was William.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And William's one of the people on the account.
Yeah, William set up the Facebook page, Kindergarten. Yeah.
Yeah.
The keeper of the troll.
Yep.
as he's also an online troll.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that,
It's
actually.
like 350 pages to make a pun, and I was like, that's commitment.
What did you think about the whole backstory of the physical troll?
That I get like why this boat of immigrants did it. So like they were coming over from somewhere in Eastern Europe.
I want to say Scandinavia. Oh, maybe. I was going to say a Scandinavian
maybe it was
country.
Scandinavia.
I don't know.
I don't remember either.
Because isn't it a little Scandinavia that they're in? The
maybe, yeah.
Neighborhood?
Okay, maybe it is. And they like aren't going to get through the storm across the sea. And then a troll like swims and pushes their boat to safety.
Yeah, they make a deal.
They make a deal with a troll, and they have to like sacrifice
a baby.
To this troll.
Once a year, right? Once a year?
It's once a year.
I think it's once a year. Initially, they sacrifice one of their own.
But then they're like, why would we do that when...
But now we're just going to sacrifice random people's kids that we find laying around not being watched.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, this is what happens with Brian, is that William takes Brian in order to give to the troll, but the troll then wants to raise it.
Yeah, the troll always wants to like raise the baby as its own, but the troll isn't a very good parent, so the baby just ends up getting eaten or killed.
He ends up eating his kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Once he gets frustrated. Anyway, Emma was convinced that the changeling that they put in its place for Brian was obviously not her son.
Mm-hmm.
And so she killed the changeling, which led us to a graveyard buried up of like roots.
Yeah, so it's
bones.
it's like the worst hairball you could think of. The worst like hairball thing pulled out of the drain.
Of a dead zombie drain.
Baby with a weird heartbeat and weird teeth.
Yeah, that was so weird and creepy.
So
that was the changeling, not Brian. Brian is still in the cave with the troll, and Emma knows this and went in search of him and is now like not guarding so much the troll in the cave. She's just trying to get in.
Yeah, she's like keeping an eye out. She's like,
my son is there.
My son is there.
I need to be here.
Yeah. Anyway, so William is like in charge of this troll thing and is like, cool, I'm gonna make money off of it.
Yeah, he put cameras down there.
What's the cameras down there?
I mean, he was not a good dude.
No.
It was messed up. Emma gets her revenge. Good for her.
Yeah, Emma brains him with another giant hammer.
You know, once you find a good technique, why not just go?
Anyway, so William's father is who Emma has like been low-key haunting. And is like, you took my kid.
Yeah, that was crazy too, because whatever she was like singing and saying in her head, he was hearing and like being driven mad, more or less.
And Emma has magic powers.
She becomes this amazing witch because she has to protect her son. I thought that part was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really understand that whole part, but it was cool.
She was like glowing when Apollo finds her. I think that was just her mama bear instincts kicking in and a hyperdrive making her this incredible witch-like creature in order to protect Brian and to like live in this park with nothing.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah.
But it worked. It was cool. It's good weird.
Yeah, and it was so random that Apollo found William's dad at that Starbucks. I mean, it was a set of like amazing coincidences that he even found Emma.
It's like the breadcrumbs in the forest.
Yeah. Which again would normally kind of annoy me, but I loved in this book.
It worked because it like sets you up to kind of like go along with the fairy tale structure that it's telling. So it fits.
Yeah, I know. And initially, like when you have this many weird like a troll, really now we're throwing a troll into the story, but it totally worked.
Because William Dad tells Apollo this like fairy tale about a troll, and like 3 brothers are supposed to kill it or whatever, and you're like, okay, cool, we've gotten other myths and fairy tales throughout this book, and like, yeah, that's cool, but then there's an actual troll,
right? And you should have learned from that fairy tale I've been telling you.
And it's like the exact same one, and Apollo has to like kill the troll the same way,
and he does
kill the troll.
I actually I know that I think you weren't a huge fan of that ending. Were you with the light?
Oh, I just didn't want it to be the app.
But it kind of...
It wasn't, though.
But it kind of... The app he started, and it kind of, like, sort of worked, and they were able to lure him out because of it. So I still give a slug to Patrice for that. Like a good...
So Patrice invents an app called Daylight. And it's, like, supposed to be this super-powered flashlight app. But it only works for 4 minutes at a time because it consumes your phone's entire battery.
So use it well.
Yeah, so then Apollo's like, hey, I need that app. And he's like, oh, I only get 1 use out of it. I'm going to stone the troll with this app.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work.
It still led to working.
Yeah. It didn't work the way they thought it was going
right.
to. I was going to be like, really? We killed our troll / internet troll with an app called Daylight. And I'm just like, oh gosh.
Well, technically, the internet troll was killed by Emma bashing it.
Yeah.
But...
What did you think the troll represented?
I know where that's going, and I'm curious what you end up thinking at the end. I didn't think it represented really anything other than
it did.
I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
William gets into this whole thing. Like, William's dad thinks, like, oh, this troll is a curse. This troll is a bane. Like, we have to... It's our burden to bear.
Mm.
William is like, this is what's going to bring us back and, like, make us great again. And I was like, is this, like, white entitlement as a troll? Like, is that what this is? Is this how we're supposed to read this?
I don't know the answer to that because
it just feels like it means something.
I think it. I know. I wondered. I've thought about it, and I could not really ever come up with anything because I get where your thinking is with that, except that it never brought them anything good. The troll, aside from saving them from the crossing, did it bring them any more money?
William was working on it, so I was like, is this like?
I never thought it was going to work out for a while.
Was it that like it's like William's delusion? He thinks it's like this is what he thinks is going to happen, but that's really not how this works, and like everyone else can see that this is terrible except you, who's bought into this. Yeah,
I think that's fair. I can buy that way. When you
You'll
spell
buy
it out,
into this one.
When you spell it out that way, I'll totally buy into the buyout. What'd you think of the end?
I like the end.
Me too, because they kind of all ended up back together.
Yeah, we get this like kind of happy family reunion, or it's like starting over. It's starting
over. I am a little worried for Brian now because he's been down there for like 6 months.
Yeah,
he's now 10 months.
Once he 3 months old when this whole thing with Emma happened, and then he's been gone for 6 months.
Yeah,
and now he's like a 9-month-old.
I know, and I remember you feel for Apollo when he starts to pick up the more 3-month infant wear outfits, and then he's like, no, I can't do that. And that was kind of I don't know, got your heart.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, these little tiny details that just kind of oh, that's sad.
Mm-hmm. And going back to he was trying to be such a good dad. I loved his comment on the new dads, because I think that's totally true. My dad was from an older generation where they were more the go to work. That's what we do. I have to be gone and doing that. Whereas this generation is definitely more hands-on, and I think he was trying to really embrace that.
Yeah.
I had hope that it was going to work out, and I still think it will in the long run. Now that they have Brian back,
I hope so.
And once he stops sounding like a troll, because he's now making troll noises,
and he'll grow.
It'll be
He's
fine.
Little.
He's little.
Yeah,
there's time.
It'll be fine.
Right.
It's like a happily ever after, kind of.
I know, it goes from a happily Cinderella-y beginning to a Grimm's fairy tale in the middle to a happy ending.
Yeah. And it's and they lived happily ever after today, and they lived happily today.
I enjoyed the happily today.
Yeah. Right,
because there was a lot of comments on what happens after the fairy tale. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a good way to end this.
Yeah.
Because it kind of was we don't know, but today
is good.
Today is good.
Today we killed the troll.
And we are reunited. And I enjoyed then, too, that I feel like Emma kind of was able to relinquish her witch magicalness because she was brought back to her teammate.
Yeah.
So they could go at it together. I liked that.
Yeah, because she tells us, she's like, I was only able to use magic because it was, literally killing me. Mm-hmm. I was just like, well, I hope you still have magic powers because that's cool, but they're, warmer and healthy and not killing you.
Right. Yeah, so obviously there's a lot in this book.
There's a lot.
We really barely touched any of it. And I'm sorry it was kind of a confusing conversation.
It was a little bit
around.
It makes sense when you read it.
It really makes sense when you read it. We promise. I definitely think we all recommend this one very, very highly. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of my favorites we've done in a while.
It was, yeah. It was really different. It was different, too.
It was nice to see a nice dad.
Yeah, it was a good dad. There's also a bad dad in it. But
There's a couple of other bad dads. There's a lot of bad dads in it, but one really great dad.
There's one really good dad who does his best.
Does his best, exactly. Yeah. Any parting thoughts?
What are we reading next week?
Okay, ready? Yeah, that was where I was thinking too.
Okay.
Tell us what we're reading next week.
Next week we're reading A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney, and it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling. And I don't know anything else about it.
That's all I know too.
There's like a nightmare verse in it.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter. It's an Alice in Wonderland retelling.
She has weapons and hardcore fighting skills, and there's monsters. And I'm like, I'm down for girls with weapons fighting monsters in some sort of retelling. That sounds cool.
Me too. Totally down for that.
And you like Alice in Wonderland
a lot. I do like Alice in Wonderland. I think that's all you had to say with me. I'm like, done. Picking it up.
This was an easier sell than the Changeling.
Right? I just didn't understand how it was going to fit into a Jen pick. It does.
It does.
All right. Well, we hope you all join us again next week for that discussion.
Yeah.
You can always stop in the store or call us if you want to get the book in advance so we don't spoil it. Or you can do Libra FM if you prefer your audiobooks. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
See y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.